Howdy, Paper Army. This is the DeLorean build, as you can see right here. Now, I have these little pieces of copper wire. I grab them with the tweezers and then I turn them into a cotter pin. Alright, so because what you have to do is you have got to get this wiring. As you can see here, the wiring on your DeLorean has to be at certain intervals to make it look right with the build. And so I found out that it is much easier to get this thing started with the wires on a piece like this. Now this one, I already put it together and I had to wire it. It was very difficult to do and it didn't turn out as well. So now what I'm doing is I am getting these put in here like this. Now as you can see, that goes on there. And then I take this piece and I grab a hold of it. I have pre-drilled all of this stuff because it's very important to get your positioning of these correct. And now what I have to do is I have to pull that down through there. And what that is now that tightens that all into place. And so what you do at this point is you start winding this wire up from the back side. Okay, now what that is going to do is that is going to tighten it up against the paper. And what that will do is that will lock it in place so that it can't get out. Make sure all of this is nice and tight together. And wind these up like this. And you have to be careful. If you twist too hard, it will snap this copper wire off. Now, that looks very good. Now, this is where you have to be really careful. You can pull it out of there extremely easily. Until you get your second cotter pin in, it's really easy to mess up what you're doing. And so now I grab this and I bend another cotter pin. Put that in there. Once I get it in, like so, then I can bend it over and it'll kind of stay put. And so then you got to grab a hold of this other piece. And because copper wire of this small size is very malleable. And now I push that into place just like so. All right, with that, now I can push it into there and you can see that it came out over here. One of the things I can do is I can cut this other one off of here just like that. Makes it much easier to grab a hold of this and to pull it down tight. Okay, let's straighten those out and get a little bit of a twist on here. And sometimes it's good to start it by hand and then go in and grab a hold of it with your needle nose and start winding it up tight. Because what this is going to do is this is going to make your build very symmetrical as well as being very durable. And so, and I just move it a little bit and I find out if it's tight enough to leave it alone. And that happens to be tight enough at this point. Okay. Now what we do is, first off, I better cut that excess off of there. Okay, now, oh, that piece slipped. See, now I had a little piece of wire slip off of here. This is thread. This stuff is thread right here, and it actually got out from underneath of that. But now I can fix this. I can take and squeeze that into place like so, and what happens when I do that is that I can go ahead and glue it in place. Because it's thread, it doesn't matter if it's out of position. And now I'll bend this other one over like so. All right, now what I have is I have this, and I can actually bend this wire up like so. All right, And what this becomes is, this also becomes the next attachment point. And I've got to see where that is. I actually probably need to re-drill that hole. It's not lining up quite right. It's difficult sometimes to get this little teeny tiny stuff to fashion the way you want it. Yeah, that's not a very good position. Okay, so here's the deal. I have this Dremel tool. Now, this Dremel light has become really, really important to what I do, because you can't do this by hand very well. This is the drill bit size that I'm using, and I don't know what the heck size that is, but it's very tiny. And so now I need to drill a different hole because the positioning of the hole was wrong. The cool thing about that is that it will not show. Okay, so let's go here. Oh man, and the whole thing came out. This whole thing came out of here. Oh, okay, so this is actually not that hard to fix. You just cut this off. Let's see, maybe that'll work. Nah, maybe not. All right, cut it off in the back, take it off. Now, I had to take that off of there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to push this stuff back into place. Going to have to take and grab a hold of it with this and move it back into place. Okay. And so, since that is being difficult, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take and put this third set of wires on. And so we got to make another cotter pin, just like this. All right. And now this piece, separate it just a little tiny bit. And I'm going to go through here, which is the new hole. And your paper gets kind of soft because you're working it. You're having to handle it too much. And so anyway, put that in there and then bend it over just a little tiny bit. That way it'll stay in place while you manipulate this second set of wires. Now, I need it to go in that hole right there. Now, I know you can't see this, but I can. And it's one of those kind of things that your symmetry is really important. All right, now I've got that in place. Okay, so now what I have to do is wind this up so it stays there. Alrighty. And you can take all these wires and you can just turn this like so. Alright, because if you mess with it too much, your paper will tear. And if you tear your paper, then you have to start over with making a new part. It's very difficult to repair a part of this size if you damage it. Okay, now that is right. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab it with my needle nose here, and I'm going to push it back into here, and then I'm going to squeeze it up tight. Okay, so what we've got now is, where have I got some more of this stuff? Here we go. And I cut a lot of these extra pieces ahead of time, so that in case I need one real quick, I have one, I just grab it. All right, so now, and we look at this, and where are my holes at? Okay. All right, where are they? There's one. Right there. Okay, got that in there. And I stick it through, and I grab a hold of it like that. And now, we're going to bend this around here like so. And I'm going to look for that other hole. Alrighty. It's very, when you're working with micro parts like this, it's very hard to see what you're doing sometimes. It would be kind of nice if I had a magnifying glass that I could be looking through, but I do not, and so I just have to rely on my eyesight. Now I pull it down tight. I make sure this is now in place. Push these all into place like so. And now we got to wind this back up. And there is the start to the front of it again. Oh, don't let it slip. Do not let it slip. And so now I just tighten it up like that. And I tightened it up hard enough that it broke the wire, which is fine, because it broke it off short. Okay, now let's see. Now this piece right here, this is just to hold my these wires together so they don't separate. And the reason I do that is because I've learned that without it, you can't manipulate your wire very well. Okay, now we're going to bend this up here. Oh, that's loose. I found out that is loose. So what we need to do is grab a hold of this and take another half turn. That tightened it up nice. And now this one is the same way. It's a little loose. So we're going to grab a hold of this like that with the needle nose, just like so. And then we get half a turn. That tightened it up well. And then we take a little side cutters and we trim those pieces off. Just like that. Okay, so now what we've got is we have actually got the front part of the wiring ready to go. Now, as you can see here, this is what's going on. I've got all of these worked. I have this piece on here, and I've got these bendy wires coming up here. Now, what it is this is what it is. All right, all of these match up with that. Now, I paint this after I've got it all set up. As you can see, some of this is separating. Well, that's okay, because it's paper. All you have to do is add a little bit of Elmer's glue or PVA glue to it right there, just like that. And then put it back down into place, just like so. Wipe the excess off. And then hold that for a little bit. And what that does is that seals that back together. But as you can see, this is the top piece. All right, this wire has to be long enough so that you can get it up on top of here. And that's why those are where they are. It's because this will bend over the top, and that's where that goes. And now we can take it down here and we can look at the chassis. As you can see, the chassis parts, I've got this made. And this is what I was showing you about how to make the wheels and tires. And the chassis parts, they all go together like so. And now what I do is I check to see to make sure everything is lined up really good. It is. Okay, so what I have to do a little bit of bending work here to get the wires lined up properly. And so the bottom of this will glue onto here. And it looks like that's pretty good. That's where we're at. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take a little bit of this stuff right here, and I'm going to sand this edge down a little bit more because I want this to bond really well. And if you've got a little bit of paint on there from the box, it doesn't bond as well. Let's see if I can get some. Here we go. This one will work. Okay. And I make all my own sanding blocks. It's very important for doing this stuff. And I've got them all the way down to like this right here. Little teeny tiny one. All right, because there's times when you need to get into an area to sand it down and get it right. So now we have this. Now we want a little adhesion and cohesion. All right, and you can look that up. It's a term that is important with gluing stuff. Bend those up a little bit. Adhesion and cohesion. All right, that means I get some glue on both pieces that I'm doing. Now that's a little too much. So I wipe some of this glue out of there, and then I dab it on again. And what that is doing right now is that is creating the bond that I'm going to need that's going to be strong enough for this side rail. And so here we go, everyone. We put that right on there, and I make sure that the wheel wells line up correctly. And now we hold that for just, a minute, 30 seconds to a minute, to let the glue adhere well. And the cool thing about this is, because it's only one thickness of paper, not long enough. It moved. As you put your backing pieces in, oh, I can't do that right now. Doggone it, I got ahead of myself. One step ahead. I just noticed something. See, because I had to sand this out to get the wheel wells correct, I needed to paint that. Because if your model kit isn't, if you're building your model and it doesn't look right, people can see it. And so now I'm taking a needle and not a brush. I paint with this needle is what I'm using, because then the paint goes only where I want it to go. With a brush, it tends to want to wander around. Okay, and so now what I'm doing is that, just like that. There, that is done. Now we clean off this because we don't want paint on there for when I'm using glue with it. Okay, so now I'm going to put glue on this side instead of the other side. And we don't need much because we've already had glue on it. And so now, and we bend these just a little tiny bit upward so they're arced. Because then when you put this down into place, oh man, that's still too much glue. Even though that was just a little teeny tiny bit, it was too much. And now I push it into place like so. All right, now what this is going to do is, this is going to create a very strong bond between your pieces of paper, which is what you want, because you want your toys to last for a long time. Now that's here, because what these are is, you can't, if you're not careful, you glue your axles. And if you glue your axles, then your wheels won't turn properly. This is the prototype. I learned a bunch of stuff building this one. So this piece that is going to Aaron is going to be very good shape compared to the prototype. Now that has to dry, and you have to be very careful that it doesn't slip. All right, now it seems to stand very good, so I'm just going to set this out of the way, put my cover back on here, and you got to keep your stuff very well shaken up. Now let me see. Okay, what do I want to do next? All righty, where to go? Here it is, right here. All right, so get rid of all these little chunks of stuff. I tell you what, if you sit on one of these or step on one of them, boy, I tell you what, it will hurt. Okay, now let's get in here. Let's see what I got. There they are. Okay, I have a bunch of these made. So, and I need like 17 of these cotter pins on each side of this DeLorean. And I'm making 5 DeLoreans, so you figure 5 times 7 is 35, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I got to have 85 cotter pins to make the DeLoreans. And so square that up just a little tiny bit. Yeah, we got this. All right. Now I go in here and I check it out. I see where is that hole at? It's right there. So This has to go. Man. And this is delicate work right here. Doing this part of it is very delicate work. And it can be a pain in the backside for sure. Trying to find the hole in there is really tough. Okay, there it is. All right. There we go. Okay, now that I have that in there, then I take and bend this over like so. And now it won't come out. Okay, so I've got a hold of this now, and I can manipulate this the way I want. All right, now this piece has to go down inside of here, right there. All right. And there we go. Those pieces have gone through. Okay. Now, let's put a twist on this just a little bit. Okay. Uh-oh. That didn't work. There we go. Now I got it, Coach. And so, now that I've got it in place, now we can take the little teeny... I got these needle nose. They were really cheap, actually. The needle nose and the side cutters I got for $7 somewhere. Wasn't very much. And so, as tools go, whenever I need a tool, I go ahead and find an economical one somewhere, and I buy them. Because you're working with tiny stuff like this, it doesn't matter. You don't have to have expensive tools. You can have cheap tools. Cheap tools work just as good as expensive ones when you're working with micro stuff like this. Uh-oh, that wire broke. Doggone it. Okay. Let's get an extra turn on this thing. Okay. And that's all right that it broke. It isn't going to hurt anything. I tightened it back up, and now I got that piece right there. It is just where it needs to be, and I don't need to mess with it. Because it's a micro machine, it's not going to affect your build. Because all of that is going to be inside the body. All right, there's all kinds of wiring inside of here that I had to do with this because it was a different project. I couldn't get to the wires as well. Now, because of that prototype, I realized that I have to wire all of these outside of the body. And so now we look at this, okay, and we're going to go ahead and put this wire in there, just like so. Come on now. There it is. All right, it's gone through, and now we bend that over. We move these down like so that I can see where I have this other wire part I have to put in. And now this, oh, come on, you can do this. It goes right in there, just like that. Come on, get in the hole. Come on, you can do it. There we go. And now we grab a hold of this and we pull this through. Come on, there it is. All right, now we've got our cotter pin has gone through where we want it to. And so now we have to take this and just gently wind it up like so. Once it's got a couple of wraps on it like that, now I can go over here with this and I can grab a hold of it like so. And now I shake, you know, I'm not as stable as I used to be. And so I set this on here on my thumbnail and I can grab a hold of it there. And now I can just start winding this up. Now, that is tight. Let's take 1/2 a turn more, just like that. And now we cut this excess off of here. The side cutters work extremely well for doing that. Take that off of there, and now I have that piece. And so what I can do with that at this point is just bend it over like that and squeeze it. All right, those lock in place really, really well. And now, as you can see, it is starting to look like the wiring system for the DeLorean. And I'm using, now this is really wild. This is stainless steel wire. This gives me my strength where I want to bend something. This is copper wire. And so it gives you a color contrast. And this is old thread I found in a sewing kit from the 50s. And so I happen to have a spool of this stuff. And so in case I ever need wiring, like with the DeLorean, this is how I've come up with new ways to build things, is because I have all these little parts that I have found over years. Okay, so now I need this one. We need to make another cotter pin right here. And always make one side of your cotter pin just a little tiny bit longer than the other side. That's so you can get your first part started and your second piece can go in. All right, now this is what I need. I need to put this piece in first. All right, because that is that is the hard part to get to. All right, put that in there, grab a hold of it like that, push this up into place, and then turn my cotter pin. Using copper wire like this, it is very malleable, and so you're able to do stuff with it because it bends easily. And now I've got that in place. I push it in just like a cotter pin would go, and grab a hold of it with these and pull it up tight. Okay, once that's done, then we just start winding this stuff up. Because what that is doing is, that is tightening down your wire so that your build looks professional and it won't come apart on you. There it is. Very good. Okay. And then you check to make sure it's tight enough. It is. Now, as you can see right here, I need a bend in this. Well, this stainless steel wire, okay, when you bend it, it stays bent. This other stuff doesn't stay bent well. And so now I know it has to be bent right there. All right, I've got 2 pieces of wire that this has to do. Okay, so we go here and we make another cotter pin. Just like that. Grab this. See where that is. There is that. And there is that. Now, these will go in place sometimes real easy compared to other places. It's just part of the build process. Some things go together easier than other things. And now we want to cut that off of there just like so. And then squeeze this other piece up just like that. Now that's out of the way. And now I grab that, I pull it tight, and let's put a full twist on this just like so. Get that out of the way. And now we're back to this part right here. Half a turn more. Now, see what I did with this was, that did not half a turn. It just broke off, but that's okay. It's still a little loose, so I'm just going to grab it and put a little twist on it like that. And now that'll bend up out of the way. All right, so what I've got now is, I know that this has to bend right here. And so we just bend that like so. And then Oh, okay, come on. Come on now. You can do this. Come on, bend up. Thank you very much. Okay, and now I put it back down in place. And see, this all works good. You don't want to tear your paper, and that's why I'm being very careful with this. All right, I need. Uh-oh, what am I out of pins? Out of cotter pins? Yep, sure am. Okay, let's see. I got another one in here. I'm gonna have to make some more of these. The cool thing is, I have got lots of extra wire. When I was working with General Grievous, I cut an extra piece of this stuff off of my coil, and I went ahead and stripped it down and put it up on the wall. So whenever I need any little strands of copper wire for things like this right here, uh-oh, forgot to drill that. I put some backing paper back here, and so what I've got to do right now is I've got to re-drill this because it's going through the backing. All right, so grab a hold of that, turn my Dremel on here, and very gently go through. You doggone it. Supposed to be holding on to that. Okay. And there we go. Now I'm through there, and so now we got to go through here again. Yep, and go through there. Okay. So, and what I did was I put some extra heavy-duty paper behind here because I wanted this to be strong enough when you glued it onto this part that it stays nice and tight. All right, now let's see here. We're going to do this. Wind that up by hand a little bit first, and then get in here and grab a hold of it with the needle nose and start tightening it up. Now with regular cotter pins, all you have to do is go through here and spread it. But with this wiring, you have to have it tight enough so that this wire out on the outside of your DeLorean does not shift or come loose, because you play with your toys. All right, you want your toys to be strong enough to last. Okay, so now we've got that. We squished that over there like so. And there actually is the front of this. And that's what it looks like when it's done. I have to cut this off here. And there's a couple ways you can do it. You can take your side cutters and you can get in there and you can cut them. But if your fronts of them like these aren't quite in good enough shape, what'll happen is you can't cut it. But there is a cutting wheel. This is a cutting wheel. And the nice thing is I can take that cutting wheel and I can go in here very carefully and I can score that. All right, now, it wasn't scored enough to come loose because you can bend it. And when you bend this, it will cut it. Okay, so the copper wire is not cutting. Now I'm going to go in here with my side cutters and I'm going to cut it with that. Yep. All right, and there it is. That now is loose. But because, see, I have these little wires on here, it doesn't come apart. So I keep my parts for the next part of the build. Now that is all done. Okay, so now we're going to go in here. We're going to squish these a little bit with the needle nose. Make sure they stay in place. That is done. So that's part of the wiring for this harness. Now, let me see, how are we doing? Oh, 34. So now I need to start working this section. All right, so what we have to do at this point, and wait, 34, 35 minutes? It was supposed to be 30 minutes. Okay. I'm going to start filling this in along here. And what I need with that is, I need to find out, okay, that is not wide enough. All right, so we better take our little steel rule. This is such a handy tool. I use it probably more than anything. Okay, so that is basically 3/16, or it is 20/10. I guess that would be millimeters or centimeters, not centimeters. 20/10 for all y'all with metrics. Anyway, and with American, that is 3/16. Okay, so what I've got over here is, I have got this fantastic stuff right here. Cereal box. All right, so now I know I need 3/16 of an inch pieces. And so where's my pencil at? There it is. 3/16 is right there. And right there. 3/16. 1, 2, 3. And now that's that's almost perfect. 6-inch right there. Okay, got it. And now what we do is we take our large scissors, and I watch this line of my scissors with the line I'm cutting. It makes it so that my cut dimensions are real close to being the same everywhere. Okay, now we got this. So now I'm going to look in here and see how that fits. It actually fits in there pretty good, except right at the bottom it bumps into that other piece. So I'm going to take, and I know that that is very tiny piece. So I just trim off that chunk right there like so. And you're probably wondering, why do I do this? The reason I do this is because I want my parts to fit together so good that you can play with your toys, you can drop them. They're not going to fall apart. And if they do break, they're made out of paper. You can fix them. It's just that simple. And so now we're going to go in here like this and go right there. Alrighty. And that is what I need, this piece right here. So we're going to cut that off of there just like that. And now I know this piece goes in like so. Goes in just like this. All right, it has to go in here just like so. And that fits down to get up. Come on now. All right, now what am I doing? Okay, that goes in there. It's a little bit tight. Okay, because it's a little bit tight, I know that I can trim off just a teeny tiny bit of this right here, just like that. And this is why it takes so long to build this stuff, if you're going to do it right, because your parts have to fit correctly. Now that is ready. And so what we do is we put some of this Elmer's glue, PVA if you're in Europe, and we put it on there just like that. And this goes down into place just like so. All right. Now, what I am doing is I am building a correct superstructure. Just like framing a house or building dragsters or hot rods or motorcycles or anything else. If you don't have your cross pieces built properly, what ends up happening is your builds will not work well. And so what I'll do is I'll put another piece up here and another piece up there. So here's where it comes in handy. All right, now that's drying. And so what I need to do is I know I need to cut another piece for up here. Okay, so we're going to look at this. All right. And that cuts off right there, just like that. And now we're going to stick this in and see if it fits. Okay. It is just a little bit tight. All right, now there's a couple ways you can do it. You can trim it off with scissors, but that doesn't work well because you can take off too much. So now I just take a sanding block and I sand one edge of it just a little bit. And so now, oh, look at that. Now it fits in there just right. Okay. And that is ready to go. So now all I have to do is add some Elmer's glue to it. Like that. And put it into place. And I got some glue on the rubber. So we just take that off of there just like that. Because you don't want to glue your parts together that have to move. And now I adjust that to make sure it's straight up and down. And that is a third section of the superstructure complete. And so now I got to put one down here. And that has a piece. Yep, so that means I need to trim this off just a teeny tiny bit to make up for that part down inside. Now, with a model kit, this all comes done for you. Doing them by hand, like this, making your own stuff, it doesn't, you have to do it yourself. But this is probably the most rewarding hobby I think that there is, because when you're done, after you've got practice with this stuff, because this you're not gonna start out doing this really well. It takes time to get good at this, and that's the wonderful thing about this. I am 15 years into building. Oh, come on. There we go. Thank you very much. That was difficult. I've been doing this now for 15 years. And because I've been doing this for 15 years, I have lots of practice. But the practice I have has only made me better at this. And so there we go. That is the superstructure of the side of the car done. And now the wonderful thing is, now look at this, all right? This is where I'm at right now. I can actually start to get ready to put the other side on. And once you see, and I tell this to everybody because it's important. If you're going to start with the micro machines and learn this, you need to do at least 3 of them at the same time. All right, I do 5. That's my whole situation, is that I do 5 of these things. And because I do 5 of these, I learn with every one a little bit more each time. And so that's just a good thing to do. It's like learning how it was too hard to put this wiring on. So now I'm wiring them off of the body, so that when I get ready to put them on the body, the wire is already completed. Anyway, there is another tutorial for the DeLorean build. I hope you all enjoy it. And I'll be live, as you know, noon to 2 Pacific Standard Time, Monday through Friday. Take care, Paper Army. I will see you all later.